Okay, welcome. Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Johnson. I'm a psychic medium from jojoempathic.com. And in today's video, I'm going to go over some tips to help you to tap into your intuition. So, in between the collective messages that I have for you, feel free to drop a question that you may have for spirit in the live chat. So, I will stop the collective messages and answer your question if you have any psychic mediumship question that you would like to receive, whether that's communicating with your spirit guides, your angels. Maybe you have a loved one on the other side, a deceased pet. I'm offering medical intuitive readings, soulmate questions. You can ask me any question. But today's show is on how to tap into your intuition. So maybe you have a question about your own spiritual abilities or how to activate your unique intuitive power. Let me know in the live chat. And thank you so much for joining me. So, I think one of the biggest challenges to tapping into our intuition is that we second guess ourselves. We can feel in our soul that something is either right or off. And if we don't trust ourselves, we can tend to overlook the signs. We can dismiss in our own body the truth. So this is really common, and that's going to be your biggest block to your intuition. Is basically just not trusting yourself. So you develop trust with your intuitive abilities over time. You have to train your spiritual abilities and intuition, just like you would any other muscle, or if you would, have a gym routine and stay disciplined with your exercise and working out, you would keep at it. You wouldn't just give up if it's hard. And if there's something, a part of your skill that you're trying to master, you would really give time and effort and dedication and discipline to learning what you need to do, the movements, if we're talking about working out, the exercises, the flow, the weights, the repetition, what's needed to get you to your goal. So with intuition and intuitive power, it's the same thing. You work at it, you give yourself time, and you know the techniques and skills needed that will help to propel you towards the direction of your goal. And in this case, it would be to develop your intuition. So, intuition is very different from person to person. It can look like a heightened sensitivity to one person, whereas to someone else, they just have a knowing about them. Um, Impressions come in for them. Some people just get a lot of downloads and just know, while others are avid dreamers and prophetic dreamers, and the intuition comes through sleep state. Now, there's also the really intuitive one that will practice mysticism, whether this is like tied to a religion like Christian mysticism or Jewish mysticism. And through these practices, they begin to develop control of their soul, their energy, their essence through discipline and practice. And so maybe in their waking hour, they may not feel that they can always know that there's a spirit in the room, like that their mediumship abilities aren't that heightened, but they're able to really tap into psychic abilities and astro project and astro travel and have out of body experiences. So I'm going to kind of break this down first. With intuition, there's so much misconception. There is a lot of also demonization of intuition. So before we go into like how to really develop your intuition, let's talk about what it is. So again, there's it manifests through us all differently. And there's also levels of intuition. Just like there's rookies in sports, and then there's the professionals, then you have the professional athletes, and they've been practicing for a long time, or they're just skilled and uh, or gifted in that area of practice, and they're known for it. Um, so you have the different levels of intuition. Psychic ability is, I would say, one of the most popular, one of the most common abilities that we have. It is tied to our right brain. It's also tied to our spirit. So it's this interconnected sense that we all have as humans and having a soul as well, that we have this ability to see. We have an ability to sense. Our brains are multidimensional. So the psychic ability is what helps you to go between the different dimensions within your brain's power, your mind, your thoughts. That's how you get in between different dimensions. But it's your psychic ability that's taking you there. So the psychic ability reminds me of like you projecting from soul level. If you think about your essence, if you believe you have a soul or a spirit, if you were to, let's say, be very passionate about something, let's say you're really passionate about saving the oceans. So when you are in that activism, you might have this force about your actions. You might have a force behind your voice. So passion reminds me a lot of psychic ability. It is a force that we all have, and it's moving. Okay, so this is why there's levels to it. And so with disciplining your psychic ability, it's you actively being in control of the force within you. That's how I would define psychic ability in a really kind of unique way. I don't think I've ever heard anybody describe it like that. It's this force within you that you control. It's like your psychic ability is like your psyche. It comes from the word psyche in psychology, and um, so it's your mind's power. It's your connection between your mind and your soul. It's like a gateway. Now, why is having the psychic ability even beneficial? Well, um, for many reasons. We have soul for a reason here. We have a body for a reason. It's all on purpose. Our brain, the way that our brain operates, our neurochemistry is amazing, and it's a phenomena that is just powerful. We don't even know the full human potential that we are capable of having and being. So why is it important to use your intelligence system? Because you can consider your intuition your intelligence system. It will guide you. It is you, essentially. It is how you sense, it's how you feel, it's how you think, and it's how you're tapped into the interconnected web that connects us all, is your psychic ability. So it kind of like plugs you in. So there's people that we all are psychic, but there's people that are plugged in to that web and their soul force. And then for those that say, oh, I don't feel psychic, or I don't know or believe I have this ability, they're unplugged from that connection of the body and spirit and the ability to go between the different dimensions of thought with their mind and heart and their soul's force, their passion. So this is beneficial because once you have a oneness and awareness that you're psychic, you begin to actively interact again between the different dimensions, but with an awareness. And this makes you powerful. This helps you to stay guided and feel safe. Psychic ability is for survival, and this is why we all have it. So if you were just listening, I was saying basically psychic ability is your soul and your brain power. It's this gateway. So it is on purpose to guide you through both the physical and spiritual dimension. So with the power, With it turned on and you plugged into your psychic ability, this is what will happen. You will be aware of not just what's coming today, you will be aware of your energy field. You're going to be aware of energy in general. You're going to be aware of other people and their field and how it influences you. So it's not just about predicting the future with psychic ability. It's not just about seeing ahead. It is, again, you being plugged into all that is. That's what, the psychic intelligence does. So when you train it, you have discernment of what you're actually seeing. You have more discernment of your perception through the awareness of what you're receiving. Now, when you're psychic, a lot of times there's a lot of anxiety that comes with it. And this is very common to know of a heightened sensitivity to energy, to people, to atmospheres, to animals, objects, just an overall awareness of I'm vibrating, everything around me is vibrating, and I'm sensing and picking it up through my senses. Everything is alive. So you're aware of a consciousness. Now, when you do that, think of you as a web and someone else is a web and then someone else is a web. So we're all in this matrix, like a stimulation where we are in a quantum field. And when we begin to interact with other people, we then are interacting with others' fields. So it becomes like a quantum entanglement. With that, doors open. So a lot of times people say, don't practice your psychic ability because doors will open and it's dark. Just interacting with people at times, depending on how you're carrying yourself, how you're protecting your energy and presenting, whether you're grounded and present or you're ungrounded, you're kind of chaotic and not focused or feeling protected at all, just kind of out of it. That will determine how you feel in the situation and how your perception is as well. So, what we want to do is realize that as we're interacting just in general, it's like a lock and a key that happens when the quantum fields begin to touch. This can happen through thought. We can connect with other people just from a thought, from a projection of the heart, a feeling, an emotion, a prayer that we give out, and maybe work with different spirits or deities, ascended masters to help us with that manifestation. So it happens instantly. So if you're psychic, this is a lot of times the answer to why you might feel anxious and can't figure out what's wrong with you, or doctors can't figure out what's wrong with you. It's so subtle that if you're not taught or aware of the quantum field growing up, you will totally dismiss the knowing that maybe, just maybe, you go into work today, for example, and you're meeting someone new. You have a new work partnership that you are assigned to work with someone else. So that morning, you begin to wake up and feel something in your chest. Maybe you feel like really stuffy and congested, and you're like, I never feel this way. Um, I'm healthy. This is just not me. What could be happening is that you are psychically tapped into who you're about to meet with that quantum field I was just explaining, your work partner. So you go to work and all of a sudden you meet this person that you've never met before, and you find out that they have like a really stuffy cold and sinus and respiratory infection. And they're kind of a mess, but it's a new job and they have to show up. So the psychic person, the intuitive one that's plugged into the quantum field, is aware of who's coming into the field, because in the field, it's not past, present, or future, it's just present. So you begin to tap into the quantum field of other people. And this is really where psychic ability comes in. It's like it's activated through us, but with other people, with the field. That's how you interact with through your psychic ability. And so if you're saying, I'm not psychic, try this. When you wake up in the morning, check in with yourself and how you feel, where your thoughts are, what you're thinking. Are you, you know, is your mind on a loop? Or is your heart heavy with emotions that you just can't really seem to come to peace with? Or is there an energy with you that just feels not like you? The psychic will pick that up. Again, yes, it can be in the future, picking up who we're about to meet today, tomorrow, next week, next month. The psychic will start to pick up impressions of energy that are significant. And depending on your state of your heart and mind, is what you're going to pick up. Like, let's say you have a radar on your body, just sensing, okay? And you're in a chronic state of survival, and you're very afraid and of so many different things in there. It's not just like the boogeyman. You're like afraid about, how you're going to pay your bills and how you're going to feed your kids and, someone's sick in the family. So these are real concerns that you're dealing with. Well, sometimes in that state, we can begin to then psychically tap into significant events in the future and present in the day in your in the present moment of where you're headed, your trajectory. So that's why being grounded is so important, because if you're in this chronic state of fear, your psychic ability may be, I'll use the word tuned, because really that's what it is it's like you're tuning your ability when you train in intuition. So you may be tuned to pick up really, you know, difficult events that are going to come. They're significant, but you're picking up the car accident to come. You're picking up the death of somebody in the family to come. It's more low vibrational or dark. And this is where we begin to. I'm going to take a break right here. And Robert Sprite says, "Hi, Jojo from Toronto. Hello. I'm in Frisco, Texas. Thanks so much for being here. If you have any questions for Spirit, you can feel free to drop them in the live chat." So that's when people turn away from their intuition. They will feel very haunted at this point and not realize, again, if you haven't been taught the awareness of your psychic intelligence, of the quantum field, that it's you picking this up. It's a lot of times we feel attacked by other people when we're going through a spiritual awakening or becoming more aware of our psychic ability. We feel like we're being attacked, or that something dark is after us. This is where we hear of all the tarot card readers and mystics on YouTube where they throw their tarot cards away and say that was so dark. And what it is they're seeing themselves for the first time on a different level through a different perception. And that's exactly what's happening, and why being grounded and having discernment is so important. Okay. It is incredibly important to know that, hey, I'm in fear right now and I'm out of control with where my intelligence is going. And when you have this awareness, you then can really help yourself to discipline your psychic ability and say, you know what, I need to just calm down and have more faith and just chill out today and calm my heart and relax my body and rest and choose rest and choose, if you're a woman, maybe softness, and just be in the present moment. When you do that, that's your superpower key for your intuition, because then you will be more accurate in picking up psychically the information or significant events or energy that you need to know to help you have prosperity. I'm going to take a break here. So Robert Spray says, a lot of snow in Texas, Toronto tones. Jojo, have you encountered a fairy in person? So I'm from Western New York. There's a lot of snow up there when I talked to family like a week or two ago. But down here in Texas, today was a beautiful day. It was actually kind of warm. Um, I had like a puffer jacket on and I was getting too warm. I was walking. So have I ever encountered a fairy in person? So fairies have been in the air lately. When I was younger, I used to be obsessed with fairies. So I used to believe that I could see them. I don't see them now, but I feel their essence, especially this past week. So it's funny you say that. Do you see fairy spirits around me? If you have clairvoyance or if you're, intuitive, let me know. Because they are near. I know they're here and they've been working with me this past week. Um, but I also want to say one thing about intuition is that sometimes we don't train our abilities. We hold off until we're perfect, until we've healed to some level that we've told ourselves through a narrative is enough for us to actually develop our psychic ability or get to the place where, we feel ready to even develop intuition. Here's the truth. You're going to use your intuition in moments of stress. You're going to need your intuition when you are going through trauma, when you're going through pressure, hard times. Um, that's when you really want to tap into it. So it's actually a myth that you need to be, sitting down, meditating for hours to tap into your intuition. You'll need it in that moment right before an accident. You'll need it in that moment to when life is going fast and you just make that right move. Okay. So it kicks up, actually. Your power kicks in and kicks up when you're under pressure, when you're under stress or going through difficulty or challenges. So don't ever hold off training, by the way. If you want to train your psychic abilities or mediumistic abilities or healing arts, please check out my packages at jojoempathic.com. I will work with you one-on-one to help you to develop all of your clairs and feel confident through your own unique method, your own unique way of channeling and speaking with your unique spirits and spirit team, your angels. Um, it is so important. It is so important. And I hope this message today gives kind of the benefits of it. And if you're watching this and maybe you've never felt this way, why it would be beneficial even for children to develop their intuition. Okay, but when we say intuition, it's more commonly accepted. So if we were to talk about integrating meditation into preschools, that's positive. Most may accept that and welcome it, okay, and sign their kids up for it. Um, right brain channeling is art. That's how we make art. So like art classes for children, that's intuitive. That's intuition skills. And most people in the collective are okay with that and welcome it, right? But when we turn it from intuition to psychic intelligence or psychic ability, this is where we become afraid. So we don't want to do that. We want to see it for what it is and not what we've been told to see it as what it is. It is an intelligence. It is your cells. It is you operate your psychic ability through you. Okay. And it's going to push you and hold you through life. It's going to help you to get ahead. It's like you just grab that umbrella right before you walk out of the door. You don't even know why, but it saves your whole day from being like completely just rained on at a certain time throughout the day. You couldn't have ever known what happened, and your intuition really protected you. Intuition has been known to, people have had stories of like, I almost went into the house and there was, something really terrible happened there, but I didn't go, right? In my life, intuition is something that I obviously love and I'm so grateful for. It's my religion. is my soul's connection. Um, it's my gateway to God. It's my gateway to all that is. And so I honor it and I've trained in it. I've trained actually through more prophetic, psychic, empathic, mediumistic channeling abilities. But nonetheless, this is something we all want to develop, and starting from a younger age, before you're 7 years old, or your child is 7 years old, is the best time to begin to really develop the intuitive abilities and awareness. Okay. So the psychic ability will help you through your day. It will help you through your life. It is when you are tapping into your psychic ability, when you're sitting down thinking about, let's say, what college at 18 you want to go to. You might have a few options, and you sit down with yourself and maybe you're just journaling, but when you're channeling, you're writing, and you're tapped into your right brain, and maybe even you're not aware that you're doing it, but you're tapping into parts of your brain, your higher faculties, to think, to deeply think, to make sure you're making the right choice, to think something through. A lot of times in those basic moments of making decisions, you're plugged in to God. You're plugged into all that is the goddess, God. Okay, your psychic ability. Um, that's the basic version of psychic ability that we do every day. Okay, we tap into it to plan, whether we're aware of it or not. We just sit down and we're thinking about it. Should I really move over here, or should I move out of the state? What should I do? And you're thinking about it. When you think about it, you could be psychically, some are aware, some aren't. You could consciously or unconsciously be tapping into potential timelines to help yourself make a decision on where to go next or your next move. That is psychic ability in a very basic form that we will overlook as being psychic. So tapping into the potential timelines help you to see, this would make the right decision for me. I'm not going to, when I feel into that decision. So again, at the beginning of this show, I was talking about, it's a sense, it's your force. You're feeling into, that property doesn't feel right for me. I'm going to move here. Or if I cross, the border and move, over there, I just am feeling a lot of chaos around this potential property that I want to move to here. Maybe I should go here. So you are psychically going to a place, and when you have discernment of it, or you're consciously doing it, one of the abilities of psychic ability is something called psychometry, which you're consciously tapping into an object, a place, a person, an animal. It's a conscious form of, in a sense, almost like remote viewing, but you're plugged into something through your conscious focus, projection. So again, this is all happening for people that are deeply thinking, that are making strategic moves, that are artistic, um, all the time, and we just don't have awareness of it. Okay, so it is your lifesaver, your psychic ability. Your psychic ability is what will not only save you from the rainy day, but it'll also protect your health. A lot of times people have, reported, if I didn't listen to myself and go get checked out, this would have been missed. Or if I didn't, go in this direction, I would have missed getting this treatment, and then X, Y, and Z would have happened. So your psychic ability, it governs different areas of your life. It can help you to govern different areas of your life. And depending on your consciousness level is how it will run you, or you'll have control of it. And what you want to do, obviously, is um, you always want to be consciously aware of that you're using your psychic ability versus being completely unaware that it's happening. Because when we don't have awareness is when we tend to feel sick. We feel anxious. So I've kind of gone over that because we could be unconsciously tapping into the future. We could be tapping into different timelines, as I've mentioned, future. Yeah. We could be tapping into different people, places, things. We could be receiving it could be your body's way of trying to protect you from taking a turn that you shouldn't take on your route to save you from an accident. Okay, so it is always trying to keep you safe. It is always trying to help you stay plugged into your spirit and the physical. Okay, that is psychic ability. You can do so many amazing things with the psychic ability, and this has been studied through like the Monroe Institute, Heart Brain Institute. I mean, there's so many different programs that have studied psychic ability. I recommend you look into it to educate yourself because it's not common knowledge. And again, it's your key. It's your key to life. It's your key to your pilot, like you being the pilot of your life. Are you going to be the main character in your story or an NPC? Your choice. You know, when you're plugged into your psychic ability, you're the main character. You're plugged in, you can go within your heart and guide yourself. Okay. You know who your God is and you hear. You know, we're going to get into hearing and the intuition in a second here. So we've just talked about psychic ability, and it's um, what I was saying was that, you know, you're powerful because you know who you are and your capabilities. Although we don't maybe feel that we have the fullest psychic ability potential at the moment, you know, you can get there with practice. And where you are, if you meet yourself where you are, should be enough in the moment. And it never goes away. So if you are developing your intuitive abilities, even if you have like again, why do we even have it in the first place? Is because it's a survival mechanism. And so it doesn't matter if you know you stop practicing for a while. It doesn't matter if you are going through a hard time. It doesn't matter if you're on a healing journey and you're not perfect because you'll never be. It is always there. It's just the awareness and the power of your mind and spirit. Now, what are the blocks to this? Well, there's a lot of things that can block your intuition. Um, we like to say foods. Obviously, foods can impact your body, your third eye, your endocrine system. I have a whole video on the endocrine system and spirituality on my channel. It's really good. Check that out if you're interested. The endocrine system is a gateway between the different realms, and your hormones are your messengers throughout your body. So there's a very spiritual connection that I see as a medical intuitive. I'm not a medical professional, I'll just say that. But between the way that spirit communicates with us and we communicate with everything through our cells and through our hormones, basically through your DNA, your own cellular biology and spiritual ecology. So, yes, you can have food that blocks your third eye, but here's the truth. Like, that shouldn't matter, truly. Your psychic ability, it doesn't matter if you eat hot dogs all day. It doesn't matter if I ate like processed food. I'm still going to give a like reading at the end of the day and be connected. Does it weigh you down, certain foods? Yes. But what I'm saying today is trying to break a myth that you're completely, you know, if you eat processed foods, you can't tap into your intuition. You can tap in at any time. And in fact, you should be able to and turn it on and turn it off when you need to. Of course, I try to eat healthy and stay away from the processed foods. And I actually try to detox and cleanse when I can through various means from juicing, fasting, different herbs and soups. I do that because, yes, it does help me to have a heightened connection. But what I'm saying is don't feel like, oh, I'll start my intuitive practice next month or next year after I detox or start now. Like get started tapping into your intuitive power today because like I said, it's for survival. What if we needed a heightened perspective um, tomorrow? today, so get that myth out of there that it's, a block is really food. Okay, it can be, but let's say if you're really plugged in to your psychic force, your power, you can unblock your third eye. A lot of times, like in the natural food community, we hear of like calcification of the third eye. Well, if you've ever practiced energy medicine in any way, or energy healing in any form, you know that you're psychically removing that calcification from the mind on yourself or someone else. Another reason why it's a benefit. Okay, so psychic ability empowers you. You don't have to outsource someone else to do it for you. You do it for you. You have a headache, you go in and you can begin to psychically remove the headache. I have done this. I don't get headaches, but if I have been able to take a headache out. I have been able to take pain out of my body. I have been able to heal myself. Okay. So that is probably the one of the biggest benefits, other than it's helping you to survive. You can tap into it to heal yourself. So, a form of energy healing that I'm talking about is actually called psychic surgery, which is the removal of disease from the mind. Now, there's different levels of mastery of psychic surgery, but I don't believe that, it takes somebody holy or special to be able to do it. I think that we all have it so we can help ourselves. So we can go ahead and have some sort of authority or spiritual autonomy over our own body and minds through our free will. So this is another benefit to it. I want to go back to blocks though. So food, somewhat, yes, no. If your ego voice, if you don't know the discernment between your ego and your higher mind, this will be a block for you. You will think every thought is your intuition. You may even think every thought or download or impression you get is from God. A lot of times we get into like spiritual bypass. We think everything that we're receiving or thinking is from like a deity, one deity. You really don't know. And you're just kind of being operated through without that authority. If you're following me, without that sovereignty through awareness and discernment, you're kind of getting like, played in a way. You're getting used, and that is what the collective, a lot of people are tuned into. They're not aware of who's influencing their thoughts. Again, if you're not taught this as a child, you're not aware that energy influences your thoughts. You're thinking it's just coming from you or God or Jesus. Um, but it's not. It could be you psychically plugged into the quantum field and picking up who knows what. Oh, there's so many options and probabilities and possibilities of what you could be plugged into. So another huge block is just this lack of discernment of your true voice of spirit, and this is your ego. Now, we as humans we don't just have the ego voice and the higher mind. We actually sometimes can have wounded parts of ourselves that guide our mind, that take over the mind, take over the heart, our emotional state. You could be operating through a wounded part of yourself or personality, tied to your inner child or a trauma, and you're just taking actions through that part of you. It's kind of like the person that's not aware that outside of you can influence your inner world if you allow it, can influence your thoughts. So it's really important when you are developing your intuition to focus on what I would call is soul integration. It is a oneness of these parts of you. It is the healed version of yourself more into a state of oneness than scattered. Because the psychic ability and getting control of it, we're not even in the mediumistic ability yet. So I'll talk about clairaudience. We have time here. Let's see the time. You will psychically be tapped into a lot of different things. So you really have to focus on, is this, am I tapped into or operating through me? Am I picking up a significant event that's going to happen today? Just when I wake up, I feel anxious. Something is going to happen. I just know it. Are you operating through that? So the more grounded you are, if you get up every day and get grounded as one of your most like basic spiritual practices, it doesn't take long, to sit and get grounded and maybe intentionally see yourself as like one, see yourself as present. This will help the mind to not be so split or pulled in different directions. It'll help you to have a clearer discernment of what you are picking up. So if let's say I've been training in intuition, I wake up and I'm like, oh, something's off today. And I have awareness that my sensory system is plugged into a field, that I'm a spirit and a human and I'm plugged into all that is, and that's my choice, and I'm aware of it, then I might say, okay, I'm going to sit down and figure out, where is this anxiety in my field, in my body? Oh, I feel it in my gut and my throat. Okay, so what is it? When you have this connection with your psychic ability, you can then ask your throat, you can ask the anxiety, you can lean into the energy. And this is also where it can really protect you once you take a few moments to just be present with yourself, because the future is now, the past is now. It's just the present time. So if you're present, you might say, "Oh, okay, I see. So I'm not feeling good about the car. I have a feeling that, it's my car that I'm picking up. It's not even me, it's my car." And this is where another block comes in. This is the number one block I started this show on, is that you then are faced with the option to be like, I trust it, or you're questioning it. You're not really sure if it's really going to happen or if it's true, or if you're just daydreaming or in imagination. Okay. And there is a fine line, especially when you're developing your intuition. It goes hand in hand with developing your imagination. Okay. So, and that's where the power comes in. And every time that you begin to have these moments of where your intuition is put to a test and you choose to follow the voice that protects you and keeps you safe, and you say, you know what, today I'm just going to work from home. And, maybe you turn on the news later and see that the route that you always drive at that time, there's horrible pileup or terrible accident that happened, and you're like, oh my God, I felt that. Every time you choose the intuition, you become stronger. You become wiser in intuition. You become more one with your intuitive voice. And this is where you really begin to win and get ahead in life, because you're kind of going through with a faith. Like, you're going through life with faith, with a faith discipline that's so personal. It's not, some Etsy reader or me. It's between you and spirit and your personal walk. So this is why, another reason why it's so important. And another block is second guessing yourself. Okay, don't second guess yourself. And here's another point too. You have second guessed yourself in the past, and it cost you, and then you blame yourself and you punish yourself and you kind of give up on your intuition totally. That's very common, where it's like, I'm just not intuitive. And you get scared from it. Here's the truth: when you develop your intuitive ability, you're still going to make mistakes. You're still not going to be perfect, and some things, depending on how skilled of a psychic you are, may slip by you. Okay, it doesn't mean you stop. It doesn't mean you put it away, your abilities, and say, it's just not for me. It's for everyone. Literally, your intuition is for everyone. We all have the spirit, the mind, the body. It's that connection, that force. So don't block your intuition by your own doubts in yourself, okay, and your own form of, let's say, whether it's self imprisonment or you're hard on yourself and you just have to be perfect. When we move into mediumship, that's where you really don't want to get into that type of energy of ego and needing to control. So I don't want to get into mediumship yet because there's still some more blocks here, but I will take a moment to touch on that. Why is it important to have extreme discernment if you're a medium? Well, because then you're at a heightened level above psychic ability in through the clear sense of clairaudience. Okay, then you have more of a heightened clairvoyance, more of the you're not in clear empathy yet in intelligence, but it opens you up to the ability to communicate with the other realms. And I want to even put clear sentience in there. Okay, clear gustance, all your eyes, your ears, your nose, all of the sense will then help you. They're at a level that helps you to communicate with energy or have awareness that you are communicating with energy. Because again, we're all interconnected always and somewhat always communicating spiritually. So mediumship is more of that. It's the language between our souls. It's the language which is so beautiful, mediumship. It's not only the language between us, it's the language between us as humans with one another and the animals and the planet and the plants. It is the communication between all things. And um, so when you are, when you have the ability to be there in that realm, in that dimension, or that perception of energy, this is where you really want to stay rooted in the higher vibration. You always want to be with life, with intuition, but especially mediumship and psychic ability too. But with mediumship, a lot of people are at this level of intelligence without awareness. And what tends to happen is that there's this communication happening with them and other spirits. And that lack of discernment or awareness is a lower vibration of itself. When you're in awareness and you have discernment and you're empowered, that's the higher vibration. So automatically, it's like you're kind of going through life in a sense with a blindfold and earmuffs in a sense over your perception. And if your heart is really rooted in anger, you're not only, like I was saying, going to psychically be tapped into the significant events to come that are negative and think you're being haunted, but it's you. But with mediumistic ability, which is again a higher state of intelligence than psychic ability, that is a little bit more, from what I've learned and studied, rare, but I feel from what I've seen, this is just my perception. I think everybody is mediumistic. I just would claim it's like, how don't you have a body and a spirit? And if you do, you have the potential to you are that of itself as a human is a channel. It's a conduit. Okay. It just is. It's this temporal experience isn't permanent, but there is an forever essence that inhabits it. So mediumship doesn't have to necessarily be spirits within you, like you are in your field, in a sense. Um, and when we think of like trans channeling and spirits coming within, it doesn't have to necessarily be that. It's just the communication between all things. It's our spirit's language. Um, so again, if you're more of a negative person, you're angry all of the time, you're going to be hearing from that type of resonance on the other side. So this is a block to intuition because just like with psychic ability, you'll run from you and you'll run from spirit. If your tuner you're tuned, your set point is negative. You're going to speak to negative spirits. You're going to attract the negativity. You're going to be hearing it. And again, if you're unaware, you're thinking it's you. You're thinking it's a part of you. You're not aware that it's a spirit in the atmosphere. You're not sure. Okay. So one of the blocks is having your heart rooted in hate, rooted in anger. Um, it just stuns you from, this was my point in getting into mediumship ability, the light. This is where anointing tends to lie in mediumship abilities. This is where there's laws of light. Okay. This is where you're communicating now with beings that are helpful to your journey. They don't overstep your free will. They guide you for your highest good, and you have a soul contract with these beings to help you in this earth classroom through these challenges. So the block to that, a lot of times, because we all have angels, we all have spirit guides, and we all have loved ones on the other side. So how can I hear from them and someone else can't? It's just a lack of discernment and a tune, and their senses being tuned to it or not. There a lot of times, if we don't have the awareness that we're mediumistically connecting with, let's say, an angel or grandma on the other side, we can be thinking of her, and all of a sudden we just feel her essence, and all of a sudden then we just know, oh my gosh, I need to switch jobs. This is like literally killing me sitting at this desk all day. My grandma, she passed away, and she was always that woman that told me, don't just settle. Okay, go for where you have purpose, and don't waste your life just sitting behind a desk doing something you hate. And then what will happen is a lot of times that person will go to a medium and say, what is the message from my grandma? Well, you just got it. Okay, and probably more beautifully and accurate than any medium would ever give to you. Okay, and any medium that's doing this should be doing it from a place of sacredness, and that's the difference with the psychic ability is always there. Mediumistic ability, you can't have an anointing that's taken away. That helps you to be at a heightened vibration to hear from those beings, to be in a resonance to even communicate there. When you have an anointing, it's like you're boosted up. Now I can hear the angels. I have an anointing. Okay, that can go away, and all of a sudden it's like, I'm not as high normally. High meaning vibrationally. Okay, but and also if you're trying to do harm to people, there are laws in the light. So let's say you're trying to do harm, that's just who you are, and you want to bring in spirits, angels, okay, or loved ones on the other side in the light who have laws, who can't come through to harm. You want to do that, then you're setting yourself up for a lot of times thinking you're communicating with grandma telling you to go do this, or your angels telling you to go do X, Y, and Z, but you can't even get high enough vibrationally to meet them there. So you're meeting your own ego, you're meeting your own wounded parts of yourself, you're meeting other spirits that are at that negative, wanting to do harm to others frequency. Grandma's not there. Grandma's not there. Okay, your angels are not there. And the brain is funny the way it works. Like, it can trick you to thinking that that is grandma. Okay, this is again why I feel every child should study intuitive development from childhood. Everyone should study intuition. You should sit with someone who is telepathic and can hear what you're hearing, who can, even if you're remotely, like my students are remote, and I'm tuned in to who is telling this person this. I see this. What do you see? And so we both share, and it should be similar, different perceptions. But if we're plugged into and this is why having a teacher is important, I'm plugged into the light. So a lot of times when you're training at first, you clear yourself from spirits because I see this over and over again to where we're meeting spirit guides the first time. This is normal. It's almost, you want to say almost like healthy, okay? So don't feel bad for having spiritual attachments, especially if you weren't raised to know. How are you going to know? You have to have enough experience in life and awakening to even know and then get help with. And then a lot of times you're finding the wrong help to the finally the right help to help you with this sacred into initiation into your own religion, your own spiritual practice, your own spirit language, which is sacred and holy. So, blocks to intuition and mediumistic ability is the set point of your heart. Okay. And where are we with time here? 55:32. So, this is going to be an hour-long show. I'm going to wrap this up with another message to conclude this. I want to let you guys know, thank you for being here. If you are here, please drop a comment, say hello, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I'm going to be going live every Tuesday, 3 p.m. to 4. I was a little bit late today. For readings, but I also will be sharing collective messages like I just did. So if you want a reading, you can tap into the live chat and drop the question. I'll stop and give the live reading. But I also offer a free show once a month on my radio show. It's on News for the Soul Radio. You can check it out at newsforsoul.com. And you can call in for a free reading. So this is every fourth Wednesday of the month at noon Central. Actually going on next week with Joanne Carvalho. So I'm super excited. She's a host on the station, and we're meeting up next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Central. Call in because we're going to be working together to give readings, and it's free. So that's so cool. I'm so excited. It's intuitive reading. So I'll be tapped into your question or you, and so will she, and we'll give you that. So I do offer free readings, but so these shows on Tuesdays and then Thursdays, 6 um, 6 p.m. to 7. I'll also offer the paid shows, but it's always a free collective message. I have Amy here. She says, "Hi, Jojo." Hey, Amy. How are you? So that's kind of what's going on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm trying to see like what time works great for everyone so that we can meet. So this Thursday, I'm just going to let Spirit guide like I always do with what type of message that I'm going to give, but it's probably going to be the continuation of this message. So we started at psychic ability. We're moving up to mediumistic abilities where I'm going to leave off today. So we'll continue it here. And then we're going to go into empathic ability. And I could even break this down even further into probably next week because the way that the flow of this message is going, I'm not even touching on the clairs. So the clairs could be a whole show of itself. And the clairs, you have them through all of the intelligence levels. You have the clairs through psychic ability, mediumistic ability, empathic ability. They're present in all, and then they're also to different levels of ability. So I'll leave off by saying for the next few days or until you join me again, if you are trying to understand, I talked a lot about psychic ability today, how you are psychically plugged in. When you get up tomorrow morning, get present with yourself, get grounded, breathe, intentionally get some kind of control of the spirit and the mind and the body. And that's earphones just said battery low. I'm going to hop off here, but that's when you're plugged into the force. That is your psychic ability. And from there, so you intentionally go there and you're there. Whether you see a shift in the 3D, you probably won't. But intentionally you go there and you're there. And the more you develop this skill, the more you see what I'm talking about, the more you know that I am plugged into the fifth dimension right now, or I am plugged into my psychic ability right now. And once you're there, begin to feel into your day. So again, it's not just about the future, which is tied to the present. That is all that there is. But it is also about you not just tapping into the future. What about if you psychically tap into your body? How are you feeling today? If you psychically tap in, you can give yourself an intuitive body scan, which is where you're bringing your consciousness, which is tied to the psychic ability. So it's again, you using that force of your soul, and your mind as one to go between dimensions. That's the basic, for me, definition of psychic ability. So once you're there, scan your body and see, oh, I need to drink more water today. I need more rest. So the psychic ability is helping you to survive in that regard. It's helping you to know, it's not feeling right for me to take that path today, that highway. I'm going to go on this other turn. And then you see there's the accident. So it's keeping you alive. It's keeping you present. A lot of times you think, oh, you're into the future. No, it's actually making you more present. It makes you more aware. It brings you home into your heart. There is my timer. I'm going to have to wrap this up here. So that's what I'll leave off is saying, once you're in that state, you brought yourself there, tap into your day, tap into you. And then on Thursday, I'll talk about mediumistic abilities because I'll say at the end of that, now tap into your guides. Now tap into your spirit guides and your angels and see what you can receive. Okay. So thank you guys for joining me, and I hope to see you on Thursday. Okay.